Have you ever felt that life had to completely fall apart before you could finally find your light again? Today's guest, Saira Francis, knows exactly what that feels like. And her story of deep trust, surrender, and angelic guidance will remind you that even in the darkest moments, we are never truly alone. Hello, beautiful souls, and warm welcome to the Angels and Destiny show, where we explore spiritual wisdom, healing, and transformation to help you take charge of your destiny. I'm Ray Cownan, the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I'm a spiritual guide and healer, helping you reconnect with your divine presence and create a life of purpose and fulfillment through angelic Reiki, guided meditation, and intuitive journeys across past, present, and future lives. Now, the meaning of angel is messenger, and destiny means to make firm establish. So each week, my guests and I bring you messages to help ground divine wisdom into your everyday life. Now, in today's episode, I'm joined by Saira Francis, a yoga teacher, sound healer, and holistic therapist who runs award winning retreats and healing courses from her home in West Dorset. Now, Sarah's journey has been one of profound transformation, from working in fashion, TV, and media to walking a path of spiritual devotion guided by the angels. As a single mother of three, she's faced financial struggles, heartbreak, and moments of uncertainty. Yet through it all, she's learned how light can always be found within the shadows. Her story is a powerful reminder that growth often comes through challenge, and that when we trust divine guidance, we can alchemize our pain into wisdom and our darkness into light. Now, with testimonials such as, from the moment Sarah opens the door, her warmth glows from within, putting you immediately at ease. She is knowledgeable, caring, and has an incredible wealth of knowledge. And Sarah is more than just a yoga teacher. She has vast knowledge about the body, mind, and spirit, and shared this with love and generosity, a truly exceptional experience. So, without further delay, hello, Sarah, and a warm welcome to Agent Destiny Show. How are you today?
I'm really well, and thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And it's so nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. I've been
You are.
looking forward to this.
Yes, you are more than welcome. And of course, to everyone watching, whether you're joining us live or catching the replay, we'd love you to be part of this conversation. Let us know in the comments what resonates, if you have any questions, or share your own experiences of being guided through challenging times. So please don't be shy. So, Sarah, why don't you start by sharing a little about your journey and how you learned to trust the angels and find light, even in life's most difficult times?
Well, it's been quite a journey. It really has. And I would say everything on my spiritual path began in 1998. So I was pregnant with my first daughter. He was 27 just a few days ago. I was 27 when I had her. So we've sort of reached that landmark time as mother and daughter. And I was living in London. I'd been struggling for quite a number of years with anxiety, depression, all kinds of mental health issues. But I was pregnant. I was very happy and excited, and I started to have incredible spiritual experiences during the pregnancy, just out of nowhere. It was completely spontaneous. I was doing some yoga. I'd been doing yoga for many years, but not necessarily in such a spiritual way as I do now. It had been quite basic yoga. But, something just cracked in me in that year in 1997. 1998. I was 27 when it happened. And that was it. And for about 6 years, I was having all these unbelievable spiritual experiences during meditation. And then in 2004, I actually saw my first angel with my eyes open. And that was literally life changing, as you can imagine, because it's absolutely, I mean, it's just, I still look back and I can't believe that happened to me. It was amazing. And since then, since 2004 to this day, I completely changed my life at that point. Everything changed dramatically. By that point I had 2 children. By that point I was also divorced. I was in a very dark place, but it led me through these last 21, 22 years to where we are now, 2025. And life is good, life is beautiful. I have 3 grown-up children, aged 20, 22 and 27. My eldest is also excitingly just started having her own spiritual awakening, which we are now wondering, is this like our time as a family when this happens to us, because I assumed it was being pregnant with her, and maybe it was, but it's interesting how almost to exactly the same month of the year, August, just before she turned 27, she started to have experiences, and she's just done her Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 with me in the last month or so. So we're happy. We live in West Dorset. We have a really lovely, very calm, very quiet life, very peaceful people. It's my work it's just been incredible. I think right that first day back when I saw that angel, I felt that they were calling me. And, the journey in the sort of weeks and months immediately after that, it felt very much like this was a calling to start to listen. And so I did. And I surrendered. And even though it has not been an easy ride, and this is the trouble, we hope, don't we, that the more spiritual we are, the more we work with the angels, the more we listen, the easier things will get. And they do in some ways, but challenges will still come. And that's our soul growth, that's our journey. But there's also a lot of joy along the way. And we've had a very beautiful time as a family growing up and bringing them up by myself, and building the business that, it's called a business, it's called a career, but to be honest, it's a life. It's not really, it's never been about the money. I didn't have any when we started. I had nothing. So I didn't have to leave some fancy job to sort of start working spiritually. We were literally, we had nothing. And a year after I saw that angel, we moved out of our family home after the divorce. We started renting, and the sort of the journey, the ups and downs when they were little, of evictions and financial struggles, and really, really tough. But things just have grown really organically for me with my work spiritually. I feel like I've been through countless initiations where they've guided me to the next step, show me what they want me to do, the kinds of work they want me to do. And I've ended up with this kind of thread that's become this weave of tapestry that's taken me all over the place. I mean, some people say, I can't believe how many things you do, Sarah. And I think that might be my brain. I've got one of those brains that likes to do a lot of different things. I don't think I'd ever be any good at doing the same thing every day, because literally I wake up every day and there's something else happening, whether it's today, for example, we're doing this, then I have a one-to-one private client for massage and healing, and then tonight I'm doing a sound bath for Samhain, because we're just about to approach the Samhain energies now. So that's tonight. And then tomorrow it's something else. And, the Reiki courses that I run, I teach a lot of courses here at home. I recently taught my Akashic Record course, which I love training people in. And I also bring in a part of that called Activate Your Awakening, which is about waking up your third eye. So I do so many things. And when I feel guided by my angels, they've recently asked me to start teaching people how to work with dark energy and attachment, which isn't something I particularly wanted to do. Again, it wasn't a choice to start doing that, as none of this has really been. I've never woken up and said, right, I want to do that now. They guide me to it, and working with the dark energy and teaching people techniques to remove those energies. That's another course that's just started this year. So it's just never endingly evolving and organically growing and growing. And the yoga retreats are wonderful. I love them because it's a really lovely, fun thing to do when we get to go to gorgeous places. And now my children are older, obviously I have a lot more freedom as well to go abroad and to venture out. But yeah, I've never felt that the angels have left my side. There've been some very, very dark times over the years. I did suffer some really unpleasant relationships that left us in not only my mental health and difficulty, but also financial difficulties, housing difficulties. Life, when life falls apart, it really, really can literally leave you hanging. And but I remember one of the worst times I had was about 3 years ago, which was probably the things that had been going along fairly well, and then we hit a rock bottom. And the climb out of that over the last 3 years has been incredible in my sort of soul growth. But I remember my angel saying to me, I was really like, when you just feel really sorry for yourself, like, why is this happening to me? Why are you doing this to me? You get into that real victim mindset of like, this isn't fair. And I remember them saying to me very clearly, we had to get you to here, Sarah. It had to get this bad to get you to really, really wake up to the some more layers of, the past, trauma, nervous system dysregulation, all these things that are really blocking our path spiritually. So they're blocking our light. And even when we feel that we are in light and working with light, sometimes there's a lot more within us that needs to come out so that we can be even a greater channel for it, a greater beacon for it, and to help more and more people, because ultimately that's what the angels want. They don't just want to help us, they want us to help other people. And that's what I feel like I'm here to do. Right from that first time I saw that angel, I felt that was the guidance. We want you to help people. And they've also always told me right back from, when the children were very small and we were going through that period of about 5 or 6 years of renting, and we just seemed to be moving constantly, like 8 months, 6 months, 18 months, boxes that just weren't even getting unpacked. I mean, it's so exhausting with a baby and a 7-year-old and oh gosh, and school changes and all those things. And I just remember, feeling like they were saying to me, you're learning. This is going to help you to help people, because you really understand what it feels like to go through really dark times and to have to really find that strength and that courage. So they've always been there, and I'm so grateful to them. And I'm excited now, because it feels like we've kind of landed at the moment. Like I say, life's peaceful. I'm single, which means life is very quiet.
And we've lost Sarah, so hopefully she'll be back in a minute. And just in time as the A3I comet is, Atlas, it's not a comet, is literally going above us. We did say this was probably going to happen.
Oh
So
yeah.
back.
See, that was literally, I looked at the clock. It's 4 minutes after the official time that they say 3i Atlas was going to be closest to the sun today. The perihelion, apparently it's called. It's the proper name for it when it comes close to the sun. So there we go.
There we go. We kind of like knew that was going to happen.
We did, didn't we? We said something will probably happen. Let's hope that's it. I hope we can carry on chatting.
Yes, exactly. Let's hope we can. So I just want
I
to,
lost what it was.
yeah. Well, I want to take you back a little bit to be because if there are other people that are going through the issues that you went through all those years ago, you know. Yes, you had the angels there, but how else did you go through it? What tips, could you give people that go, well, yeah, this is happening, but I don't see why it's happening. I can't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can't, and I think that so much of why these things happen to us is a mystery that we may not fully understand until we've gone through this life, and we're looking back on ourselves as a soul and assessing the lessons that we've learned, the growth that we've had, and the karma that we've cleared. But there's so many aspects to it that the angels are trying to help us. So we're trying to clear karma. So one of the ways we have to do that is sometimes to go through difficult situations with other people, because we might have soul connections that need clearing. There might be karmic debt that needs settling. There could be soul contracts that are binding us to those people that needs to be released. And we can do that with cord cutting and blessing. And, sometimes we need support from someone else to do that, from other healers. And I've had huge amounts of help from other healers and teachers and therapists over the years. But sometimes there's a lot we can do for ourselves, just to visualize those cords being cut. But we become very entangled karmically as we move through the lifetimes. And that can be a lot of the reason why these struggles happen, because we're clearing. And particularly, those of us who've been on the earth the last 20, 30 years, particularly the last sort of like decade, as we go through this procession of the equinoxes, this powerful time as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, into the golden age, so much of our trauma is coming up. So we are going through a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties, not as a punishment. It's never a punishment. It's never because, oh, I did something bad in a past life and now I've got to suffer. It's not about how much suffering we go through. It's about how we deal with it, how we react, and how much we can clear as we go through. I felt every time I hit a really bad situation, like, the times that we lost our home. Awful things happen to people, horrendous things happen to people, far worse than losing your home, of course. But I think for us, that was one that, felt really difficult, with young, small children and a single mum, just having that rug pulled under you of what are we going to do. And we were close to, having to go into temporary accommodation a number of times. We were on the gold, on the housing, on the council house register, like literally going to be on the street. So that happened several times. But I feel that, what it did was it broke down my ego. It broke me down to the point where I had to let go of that need, that I suppose sometimes I felt like I was being bolstered up because I had a lovely house, or I was living in the countryside, and everything felt good. It wasn't like a palace, but it felt good. And then when you have that pulled away from you, you have to let go of that attachment to what you thought was your safety, or what you thought was your security. And that could be money, that could be relationships, that could be health, that could be housing. There's so many ways in our life that we can have everything taken away. And when it's gone, it shines a light on what's left. And what's left is love. You start to feel so much more strongly connected to the love that you have in your life, and the love you have with the divine. It just brought me closer and closer each time to the divine, to God, the universe, and the angels and my guides, and also the beings in my life, my friends, my family, my children. I've been really lucky to have beautiful, supportive people around us. So losing everything, it really can be incredibly helpful in just completely smashing your ego up, and helping you to see that don't be attached, don't cling on. It's not about that, because and especially when we live in our very materialist, consumerist world, where things like that do matter, like the car you have. It can feel, however hard we try to not get caught up in it, it's difficult. And you can feel like people are looking down on you, and when your life's falling apart, there can be so much shame. You can feel like, oh gosh, it's my fault, what have I done? But it isn't. And you slowly learn to trust. And it's it's hard that it has to be like that. But the more we let go of the attachment to whatever it is that we're losing, the more we search within to find that love, that true deep love that isn't attached to anything else, and not even people, then we just get closer. We get closer and closer to the truth. And I feel that that's why what happened to me, I know that's why what happened to us over and over again. I was learning, and then throughout that, but we got caught every time. It was like, when I would let myself go, it's like jumping off a cliff, and they'd be there to catch us. And I remember being literally 2 weeks away from eviction in 2010. It was approaching Christmas. There was snow. It was like, it was really hard to get out there. We didn't have any money. We kept getting turned down on houses, because when you're a single mum, it's really hard to find a house when you're renting, because no one wants to know you. And I had cats, and it's like all the things that no landlord wants from you. And we just kept getting turned down, and I was having to sort of like bend the truth a little bit about being on housing benefit at the time, because I was on tax credits and everything, and they didn't want to know. So I think I used to sort of like bend the truth and say that my parents gave me some money, which was completely not true, because otherwise, no one would look at you wouldn't get. And there were waiting lists for houses, and but then just literally 2 weeks I got guided to this house that I kept seeing on Rightmove, and it didn't look like very much because it just showed kind of a door. And I rang up the guy, and I just offered him some. I couldn't afford it, so I said, I'll give you £200 less, but look, I'm a healer, I'm a therapist, maybe I could work from there, because it was like on a little farm where we had lots of holiday lets. And I tried to sort of like charm him with the idea that I'd be really good. And I went to look at the house with my dad to sort of make me look like I was, a good person. And he said yes. He said yes to us offering. He gave us £200 off, so it meant it was just about in my budget. And when I went to look at it, I couldn't believe it. This house was, oh my God, it was amazing. And I'll never forget that phone call from him to say, yes, we'd love you to come. It was just like, wow. And so I was, just caught in time. Literally, I was preparing myself for having to go into temporary accommodation in a B&B in Weymouth, which is what the council were telling me they'd have to do, because there was nowhere for us to go. Literally, they took me right to the edge of that cliff, and then they caught us. And interestingly, that house, I'd actually seen it in a dream. I'd been doing my angel healing training with Denise Brown in Somerset. This is many years ago, and I'd seen this white house, like a cottage. And it took me a little while. I went to look at it. It didn't look like that from the Rightmove picture at all. And it was later on that I went, oh, it's the house. And I thought it had a river running outside it, but it was actually a duck pond, because it was on this farm and he'd made it all sweet for the holiday guests to come. And they had like alpacas and pigs and a little duck pond. And and that's where we lived for 12 years. And that was an amazing, the angels, that was just beautiful, that we had 12 years somewhere where we could settle. Lenny was 5, so when we left there 3 years ago, which was another really, really hard time. But I think by the time it happened again 3 years ago, he let us stay 12 years, and then he said, I need you to go, because he had to do something else with the house. It was heartbreaking, but I knew to trust. I knew that time to really, really trust. And it took us 2 years to find a house that time. But again, I just kept on tuning into the angels, listening to them. And their guidance that time, everyone thought I was insane, because a year into looking, this is all during 2021, so it was all during lockdown.
Yeah.
My angels told me one day, I was sat in the woods pleading, help, help, help. They said, just stop looking for a house. And I said, what? And they were like, just stop. Just don't bother looking. Give up on Rightmove. Give up calling agents. I was like, but that's crazy. And they were like, you need to trust us. I was like, oh God. And my friends and family are like, oh, you might not want to do that. But I did. I trusted it, and I really backed off, and I just let things flow. And then this house, this gorgeous, gorgeous house finally came about 4 or 5 months later. And it didn't come from looking, because it came through an estate, a landowner who called me. So it came that way. I didn't look for it. So they were right. They were absolutely right. And now that we're here, this house is perfect for work. It has a little bit more room, so I can run my courses here. I can have double the number of students. So they were badgering me for a while. They kept saying, we want you to start doing 8 people at a time for your attunements for the Reiki. And I was like, well, that will take ages, and I don't have the space. And they kept saying, trust, trust, trust. And then they started to show me how to attune more people at once. They showed me a technique to do that. And we ended up here with more rooms. So yeah, so they and everyone who comes to this house, they all say, "Gosh, this is just perfect, isn't it?" You know, the angels really set you up here. But again, they took us to the edge. They took us to the edge of, you know, anxiety and panic about what we were going to do. So it's just, you've got to trust, and you, in them, while you're waiting for the angels to intervene and for whatever's going to happen, which is often very unexpected, we have to let go, because if we cling, I think letting go is the key. That is often what they're asking us to do, to let go of the attachment and the clinging, and then often to be really open, because if we stay too fixed on what we want, they don't have the opportunity to come in and give us the miracle, which is often far, far better than what we thought we wanted. So, you know, it's almost like let go and allow it to come. And also, it's not a linear journey. Life isn't linear. Sometimes we go up and then we go down and then we go up again. And that's what happened to us. You know, we lost a beautiful house. We ended up in a not particularly nice house, but we trusted. We made the best of it. We enjoyed our time there, and then we ended up getting evicted and going to the house we lived in for 12 years, and now we're here. So I think that that's really important, just to keep letting go of our fixed ideas of what we want life to look like, and allow ourselves to be guided by the angels, who, like I say, will often have a little miracle or a blessing up their sleeve that you didn't expect, and then when it comes, you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And trust that you're growing through it. And I don't believe that we only grow through challenge. I don't believe that life has to be hard, but it can be at times. And also, I believe that a lot of the difficulties that we have are actually initiations. I really believe that if we're on a soul journey to work with light, if we're here to serve others and to work on ourselves, often we're given these dark periods because they're kind of initiations into the next phase, which will be another surge of an upgrade. And then suddenly, I mean, I've found that many times where I've been through a difficult patch, and then suddenly I'll come out the other side of it, and my healing, the light that I'm working with, has had a huge upgrade. And my clients are, you know, they're feeling so much more. And I do a lot of group online work, and suddenly I'll just feel all this energy coming through. And it's like I had to go through that initiation in order to learn something that would then take me up to another level. So I think trusting that as well. But I think, you know, it's okay to struggle and to hit rock bottom, and to you know, I believe I had a breakdown. There's no doubt about it, you know, and I think that that's often very common for people on the spiritual path. Is, you know, we do often hit these rock bottom times, but just to keep going and never ever ever give up. Don't ever 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 give up, however hard it gets. You've got to keep going, even if it's just the next breath. You know, don't even think about the whole day. Just breathe, and reach out to others. You know, it's wonderful now that as a spiritual community, we're becoming much more connected. When all of my awakening happened in 1998, there wasn't really much out there. They guided me. I was guided to books. I was guided to films. They would literally tell me the book to buy, and so I was being guided and shown. But there weren't many groups that. I mean, the internet barely existed back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't something you really talked about. That's why from 98 till 2004, I was kind of living almost a double life. I was meditating during the day when my daughter, who by then I'd had my daughter, she was a great napper. She'd sleep for hours in the day. And my mother-in-law at the time, she knew how bad my anxiety was, and she'd given me this cassette tape. This is how long ago it was. The good old cassette tapes. And it was, I've got the recording of it now. I managed to find this cassette tape, and my dad transferred it onto digital for me so I can still listen to it on my phone. It's amazing. And I put on this cassette, and it was like a self-hypnosis for anxiety. And that's when all these things started to happen, and I'd feel a buzzing in my third eye and I'd be off. I mean, I now would call it astrally projecting, no doubt. And I was literally being taught, they were teaching me about fractals, sacred geometry. They were teaching me, oh my goodness, incredible things about consciousness. I was talking to people who'd just passed away and teaching them to go to the light. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I felt guided. So I was just out there, and that was just happening most afternoons in my flat in London. And then I'd come back and I'd get on with my day, and I didn't even tell my husband at the time. I didn't say a word because he would say, you know, you're crazy. So and I didn't know anyone to talk to. And it was then in 2004, we'd left London, we were living in Dorset. We divorced. My husband had gone. It was like they needed him to go out the way. By then I had my second daughter, Mimi. She was 6 months old. And I was putting the children to bed one night in our house in Bournemouth at the time. Little one in her room. My eldest one, Betsy, she was about 4.5, 5 years old by then. She wanted to sleep in my bed that night. So I put her to bed in my bed. And I walked back down the landing, looked through the room to say goodnight, and this huge blue, incredible blue orb of light just appeared. It was about 2 meters wide. Oh my God, I get all goosebumpy when I talk
I'm
about
getting goosebumps
Yeah,
from you mentioning it.
it was incredible. Just there on the landing in between us. And I know she saw it as well, because she sat there like that with her eyes open. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, yeah, I can almost feel the moment again. It will never leave me. And that was it. And then it just disappeared. And I went downstairs, and to be honest, I was quite freaked out. I want to say that I kind of floated off like, oh yeah, I just saw an angel. I was like, what just happened? That was incredible. And sort of called my mum, and and then I kind of managed to decide that maybe it wasn't anything like that. I was like, oh, maybe it was an aura between Betsy and I. I tried to sort of I don't know why, I sort of sabotaged it a little bit for myself. But then 2 days later, the children, one was asleep, one was at school. I was hoovering their bedroom upstairs, and I felt something. A figure came into the room right up against me, whooshed past, really hot. I dropped the hoover. I ran out of the house, didn't even turn it off. And again, I was white as a sheet. My heart was beating, and I was like, oh my goodness, something's really happening now. This is like, they're not going to leave me alone. It's like, Sarah, for goodness sake, you spent 6 years having these experiences. When are you going to do something? Because I was still working in fashion. I wasn't on the path. I wasn't embodying it. It was like I was separate. And again, called my mum. Mum came straight down, because by this point I'm quite shaken up, because my anxiety was bad anyway. And then, bless my mum, she'd happened to be on a course over the summer. She was doing an OU course at the time, and she'd met this psychic. They were roommates, and she called this lady up and said, well, this is all happening to my daughter. I really don't know. I want to help her. I don't know what to do. We don't know anyone. And she said, oh yeah, well, she tuned in, and she said, oh yeah, they're Sarah's angels, and they just decided it's time that, she's not listening, and they've had enough of her not listening, and she needs to get on with it. And that was it. It was like everything unraveled at that point. And Mum booked me onto a Reiki course in Poole with a lovely lady called Jill Sampson, who was just like, she was really grounded, and I did all that really helped to do my Reiki. And then another friend put me in touch with this gorgeous healer called Ren, who sadly passed away now. And she came round to the house. She cleared the house for me. And she said, you're a healer, Sarah. You have a gift. And I was like, do I? And she's like, yes, you do. And you're here to use your gift. And she showed me how to get energy flowing. She taught me some breath work to get the light flowing. And I remember the first thing I ever did was I had my mum's little dog in the room with me, little Mitzi. She was tiny. And she said, go up, do this breathing and go up to Mitzi. So I just went and put my hands near her, and Mitzi jumped off her skin before I even touched her. And she just went, there you go, see, told you. And I was like, what? And so all of that was just incredible. So that was all during 2004, 2005. And then I fell pregnant with my son shortly after all of that. So he was a big part of it. It really felt that he came as a little warrior of light, to sort of, to complete our little family. Because all my children, they're very cosmic, and they're very psychic, and they're all healers themselves. So, yeah, and that was it. That's where the story began, really, of everything that's happened since. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that, it's absolutely amazing the way these things work, and the way angels come in, and the fact that you've got three children. Obviously, three is one of the universal numbers, which is
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. And the fact that because you have been aware of that, they've also been aware of it as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to be the next generation that's going to be bringing that energy
Beautiful.
in to help us evolve on our journey. So when did you start running yoga retreats? How did that come about?
Yeah, so for 2004, I did my Reiki training. 2007, so we sort of fast forward 3 years. My son is about 18 months, 2 years by this point, and we've left the family home. We started again. We walked away from everything. I literally went completely hermit for a few years, just to kind of, land with and integrate these energies. And I retrained in everything from 2007. I gave up all my work in fashion, and I started retraining with Denise Brown. Did my massage, reflexology, Indian head. And then when we moved to the house that I was telling you about, the one with the little duck ponds, the sweet one where we were for 12 years, um, I'd thought about running retreats for years. I'd wanted to, but I didn't really know how. And again, it was the angels just landed me there. And my landlord came to me one day and he said, "Oh, I've got these people. They want to come and run yoga retreats here. Would you do some therapies for them?" Because at the time I wasn't a yoga teacher at the time. I said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to." And then this yoga retreat happened over a week. And then he came to me again and he said, "Could we do something like that?" Because he was always thinking about earning the
Yeah, yeah,
and I was like, "Well, yeah, I don't see why not." And so he said to me, "Well, look, I've got all these houses." He had all these little holiday lets. He had a gym that we could use for yoga. And he said, "Look, why don't you just see what happens?" And I was like, "Oh my God." So we basically handed on our plate. It was no risk because I didn't have any money. He said, "Well, look, just pay me for what you use. Do it in the low season when we're not busy." And so that's how it all started. And I actually had a yoga teacher come in because I was doing a lot of yoga by this point. I'd really discovered it. It was my healer to manage the children and stay calm. But I called in someone else for the first year or so. And then I took myself on a yoga training course, and then I started to run the yoga retreats. And then life again, it was just one thing after another. I remember getting an email one day. You get a lot of emails in your inbox saying, "Do you want to enter this award? Do you want to do this?" And I just, spam, spam, spam. But for some reason, there was this email, and I just opened it and I thought, oh. And I just, I emailed back and I said, "Okay, I'm sort of interested in this." It was for the Tourism Awards. And the angels were setting me up because that's when things in 2017 I started to win all these awards, got gold in this sort of well-being award, and then in the Southwest, and the regional finals, and I mean that, and then we were in the newspapers, in Metro, the Guardian, and it just everything just exploded, and I couldn't believe it. And again, I just put that all down to the angels. They were just there going, "Yep, okay, now it's time for her to fly here." So I'm so grateful, because when I started doing the yoga retreats, they weren't really a thing. They're very trendy now, but back then I was in sort of like magazines like Soul and Spirit, and it was much more of a
mhm,
spiritual retreat that I was running. And now, of course, it's all super trendy and everyone's going. But it's great to still be here doing them because it has grown, and the sound healing as well. When we started introducing the gong baths to the retreats that we were running, I had a friend of mine, Preet, was coming in, and we worked together for 10 years. until I decided to do my training. So again, it's just grown and grown and grown, along with the world also growing through this awakening that we're in. And I just feel really honoured and really privileged to have been doing this for this long, and to still be here helping people and supporting people. And and the children are all a part of it. My daughter will be helping me tonight at the sound bath. My other two often do. They, whoever's free, they'll come and help me on the retreats. They'll be around. It's amazing. So it's a real little family business now.
Yeah, brilliant. So, you know, if somebody is watching this and and it's the first time, so they've never met me before, they've never met you before, so they don't know how, we do it. What
Yeah.
would you suggest would be the best way that they could tune in and connect with the angels or their guides to get some guidance about where they should be going next, especially if they have just had the rug pulled out from under their feet?
Yeah, I think one of the simplest ways is to ask your dreams. So if you're not meditating, if you don't really know about any of that, I mean, that can all come. But I would say start with your dreams. I ask my dreams all the time. And you can tell the difference between a regular dream and a dream that's come from the angels, because it will be very clear. It won't be confusing. It won't be cryptic. It'll be very clear, and it'll often wake you up. So you won't sort of wake up going, well, "What was that?" You'll wake up in the night going, "Oh gosh, that felt like a bolt just hit me." So what you can do if you're literally just starting is write down your question. Write down what it is that you need to know. Maybe your question is, what do I need to do? Is this right for me or not? Or your question could be, what am I supposed to be learning right now? Because it could be that what you're going through isn't about all the external circumstances, but about what you're meant to be learning. Like, what do I need to let go of? And then write that down before you go to bed, and just say a little prayer with it. Ask the angels to help you, and then pop it under your pillow, and then just see. And doing that, now would be a great time with all these amazing energies of the. I mean, Three Eye Atlas is passing, but it's coming back, so it hasn't gone. It's in our solar system till next March, so we've got this whole activation happening. We're also, around this time of Samhain, and we're coming to another super moon. So this is a good time to be doing this kind of work, because the veil is very thin at the moment. So trying that would be good. And try to be grounded when you ask. So and this is something I discovered with my own, because I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which I only found out a few years ago, and it's been such a healing to know that and to be able to work with that. Because when we're very dysregulated, when we're really wobbly and reactive and very emotional, it's quite difficult to listen. So I think that, the dreams are a good way, but also try to be grounded, try to get outside. I work so much with the nature elementals, more and more, the tree spirits, the fairies, hugely, and the water nymphs. I just love working with the elementals. So getting outside, even if it's just a park or your garden, or just fresh air from your window, wherever you are, or, get right out, get to the beach if you can, get to the woodland if you can. And ground yourself, and work with your breath. Really simple breath work, working to clear your heart. It's very simple. Just inhale for 5 seconds and exhale for 5 seconds. Just really slow, in and out, and do that for 5 minutes every day. You can go online, you can find, maybe on YouTube, you can find something, put in heart coherence meditation, or, heart breath work, calming breath work. I do a lot on my channel, vagus nerve resets, to help people to calm down, because being calm will help you to listen. I find that when I'm feeling reactive, when I'm upset, that isn't a good time. And often you can then get very confused about what you're hearing. And as a teacher, I teach a lot about doing shadow work, which is a big part of this. Is we've got to release the shadow, with our own shadow. We've got to get rid of but we've got to work and process our anger, our jealousy, our anxieties, our fears, so that we can then listen. Because the angels will find it much easier to reach you if you're a clearer channel. So sometimes, the dreams are great because it's not a conscious thing. But then if you can, during the day, do a little bit of breathing, do some time in nature, be calm, and then just close your eyes and stay with your breath. And again, just tune in, ask. We know this, but the angels, they can't help us if we don't ask. As healers, we can't interfere with each other's energy fields without permission. That's not ethical. And it's the same with the angels, that it's not ethical. They can't just sweep in. They will sometimes in emergency situations, of course they will. And we've all hope, many of us have felt that. But when we're asking questions, when we're trying to find clarity, when we're unsure and uncertain in life, when those times when the rug's being pulled, being calm, being clear, and really listening and ask for help, pray. I used to spend hours praying. I'd light a candle, I'd sit, I'd get the children to bed, and then I'd journal, and I'd use the moon energies and the nature energies to help me with that. So I think, and salt baths are another thing that are really great for clearing your energy. So I think those would be my main points for someone who's just starting out.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Now, as you know, I do guided meditations and angel oracle cards, and each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or pull an oracle card for themselves and those watching. So, Sarah, what would you like me to do?
I think I like the oracle card idea today, please.
Oh,
Thank
funny
you.
enough, I've got them in my hand as we speak. I'm never without cards, as people know. So let's cleanse the list. So obviously, when I do the cards, I do the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with the past, with past life regression, etc., it's we go into the past so we can learn and heal from it, so that it doesn't affect us in the present. And when I take people into the future, it's so they can see, feel, know, understand where they're going, how to get there, so it doesn't, so they don't worry about it and they stay in the present. So, what does Sarah and everyone who's watching this live or replay need to know for their high school days? You cannot make this up.
Ah,
Protected by angels. We're
ah,
cherished by the angels.
yeah, we are. How
And
beautiful.
I know, and these aren't angel cards, these are just sacred travel oracle
Ah,
cards. So the fact that an angel has come out, you know,
yeah,
you really cannot make this up. So, it's just really confirmation for you, Sarah. You
yeah.
are cherished by the angels, you are protected by them. And
That's
for everyone
lovely.
who's watching, know that the angels are there protecting and
Yeah.
watching over you and guiding you. And
Mm,
they do cherish you. And you are not alone. You are never, ever alone. Even if you don't have somebody in physical form around you, there
yeah.
is always angels, guides, spirits around you. You just have to be open
Yes.
to for them to be there with you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that because we really, they do cherish us and they will protect us. They will. I felt that so many times, in those darkest moments. There's always been that hand of an angel that's reached out in some way to just let me know that they're here. That the little signs, the little synchronicities that we have, the little messengers, the robins, the jays, the owls that come sometimes, and yeah, we're so blessed, aren't we, to have them in our lives. We really are.
Oh, totally. So, Sarah,
Mm.
do you have any final insights, thoughts of words of wisdom you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Oh gosh, wow. Okay. I would. So if I was speaking to someone who was really going through it, say, maybe on the edge of a breakdown or in the middle of a breakdown, really unsure, um, I would. My advice would be to just, Bring your hands onto your heart right now and take some deep breaths and allow the tears to flow. Allow the emotion to drain. That the tears are cleansers from the heart. Just let yourself flow with whatever is happening for you, and keep trusting. Trust that things will improve. Things will get better. Keep reaching out to that future you who is there, that woman or that man who's 5, 10 years on, who is trying to come back to you to say, keep going, because it will get better. And pray, literally bring your hands to your heart, bring your hands onto your heart, and pray, and ask for help. And you know even the smallest little chink of light that starts to come in, it could be a feeling. You could start to feel a little bit better. You could feel a bit of softening in your heart. It could be that a stranger smiles at you, or a friend calls you, just to let you know that you're loved, and to never feel alone. To know that being broken is allowing the more you crack, the more you break, the more light can come in. So that would be my advice for anyone who's really at rock bottom right now, is trust me, as well as someone who really has. I mean, it's hard to believe now where we are in our lives, how peaceful life is, that it really has been it's been a roller coaster, um, and just never lose faith. I hope that helps someone today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Sarah, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up or any free gifts offers you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I have two websites. I have my Lightspa Dorset website, lightspardorset.com. That's all my energy healing, my massage, and my online. I've got lots of my online meditations on there. And then I've also got my yoga website, which is Melula, MELLULAH.co.uk. And if you go to the Light Spa one, next Tuesday, the 11th of November, I'm beginning a series of online distant healings, and I'm just asking for donations for those. So I call on my angels. You join me on Zoom. Excuse me. It's a group healing. You'll get some lovely, lovely energy. I ask for your intentions beforehand as well, so my angels can really try to support you. And I'm just asking for donations. So I'm sort of setting it at £5, but if you can only afford £1, that's fine. If you've got a little bit more money and you can afford a bit more to make up for those who can't, call it a karma credit. That's amazing as well. But it is a pay what you can healing, and they're running almost every week right through until December. So those are the ways you can find me, and also on my YouTube channel, which is Malula Yoga. There's lots of free vagus nerve breathwork exercises to help you calm and regulate if you're going through a tough time, as well as some guided meditations, some yoga, all sorts of things.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your journey and
Thank
wisdom with us.
you.
It's been an inspiring conversation, absolute pleasure
Oh, thank
chatting to you. And of course, for anyone watching, if you'd like to continue deepening your connection with the angels, then you can download my free 5-day angel connection journey to help open your channel and start receiving messages from your angels and guides. And for those of you who want an ongoing support and community, then my Angel Wings membership is a beautiful space where we come together for guided meditations, inspiring conversations, and soul nourishing practices to help you grow, heal, and live with purpose. And you'll also get access to a growing library of past meditations and teachings, as well as all my new stuff for whenever you need support. And we have an absolutely wonderful WhatsApp group where everyone just really supports each other. And if you're ready for personal transformation, then my Soul Path Discovery Program is a one-to-one journey of healing and self-discovery to help you release the past, awaken your soul's gifts, and align with your highest purpose and abundance. And of course, if you've been watching this on YouTube, then please don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon, and share this video with anyone who might be looking for guidance or inspiration on their spiritual path. And remember, every time you like, share, comment on any of my work, any of Sarah's work, any of my guests' work, you're really helping with those algorithms and getting our messages out there. And you're being part of that beautiful, wonderful web of bringing inspiration, light, and joy into the life. So please do watch, share, like, subscribe, comment. We thank you so much when you do that. And again, thank you all for joining us. And remember, you are never alone on your journey. The angels are always with you. Take care. Bye.